Hi guys, right, we're just coming up to the halfway stage in 2024, so I could just do like a recap or a roundup of of the first half of this year, in mainly in Bulgaria. Now, what I notice in Bulgaria versus the UK, which I do use as a yardstick, is that we quite often get good news, and it's only small news, and some of it may be trivial or like you know people say so what, well, it's so a lot because every little bit of good news it boosts the morale, and every improvement. I mean we've got a new, like, just a little local supermarket here. People say, well, so what? The world's full of supermarkets, but like, it it counts here, if you know what I mean. So, some of the things that have been reported is that there's a lot of improvements in the transport system. Just got a load of trains from Germany, which are now in operation on the Sofia to Burgas and other lines, I think, and just things like that, And you hear the one, the opposite in the UK, that the second part of the fast train. I can't remember what it's called. Has been cancelled, which is that's it's kind of a demoraliser, really. All these things happening, and you never ever see much good news. I'm sure there's a little bit here and there, but like, it doesn't filter through here so much. The tidbits I get. I don't watch obviously the UK TV or read any newspapers, so I'm sure there is some good news. Now, they've also had bad weather after the first half of the year. Apparently, a lot of people are complaining about that, and various other things. Like very demoralising, like all these boats coming across the channel and they're not stopping it. Far from it. And so it's not good news in the UK. A lot of the stuff, and they're installing more and more of the microwave stuff. But here, I mean, you hear things nearly every day. They're improving the tram system in Sofia. Now, a lot of these things don't affect me, but it's good news for the country. And if I ever go to Sofia, which I do now and again, it's going to be improved, and our town here is getting improved, and the industry is doing okay. Um, so these are tiny little wins, and if you follow things like I do, like Taoism, um, it all matters. Every little thing, everything, um, and it might be trivial, or a lot of people just throw away these things. So what? Like, well, tell us your good news, then that's the other thing. So on a very very micro level, I mean, I've introduced here in the beds, and again, it's nothing, but it is. I've introduced four new perennial um, herbs into the garden. Um, I think they're perennial. I'm not sure about dill. I think it is. I've planted dill, which has done very well. I've planted another rosemary plant, which is took off. It must have just found a sweet spot, because it's done very well, and that was from just one of the plant pots from Lidl. Rosemary, and it's flourishing, and a couple of other bits and bobs I've done, like uh, the honeysuckle's doing very well. Um, And I also planted a load of grapevine little sticks. Basically, you just shove them in the ground and they see what happens. And some of them are doing okay, and they've come to life and produced leaves and that. And I planted about 10 or 12 of them where I'm going to put pagodas and stuff like that. So these are only very, very tiny things, and they might not mean anything to anybody, but they do in the scheme of things. And if you get loads and loads of little wins under your belt, and another one I've had, which means a lot to me, doesn't mean anything to anybody else, is that like I studied like about oxalates, and I've cut them all out of my diet because I had a very bad reaction to some spinach. So I started looking into it. And this is a good tip for other people, look into the oxalates and lectins, and it might help you. Because I was getting pretty bad bouts of joint pain, and I was, quite tender quite often. But now I've improved, not 100%, because it takes a long time to get these things out of your body, especially calcium deposits. Apparently, it's hard to get them out. There's no natural process which does it, So that's another thing that's happened this first half of this year. Is a cut out oxalates, and the joint pain's improved. I'd say tenfold. Fantastic. It hasn't completely eradicated it, because this calcium knocks about for years apparently. So that's another one, and there's a lot of good news around our town and stuff. Just little tiny wins, and everything adds up. You go to town here, and every time, and it might not be just mean anything, but it does. Just like another flower bed or another improvement in the pavements, or another street refurbished and tarmacked or whatever, and it all counts, and it's improved hugely in the last couple of decades, and the industry's doing okay, and we got a few more new shops. I mean, unlike the UK, they say the high street's dying there. Ours is getting developed. We had a new supermarket open. I think that was in February, Although I don't like it. It's a place called Billa, and it's very expensive, and it's not as... I don't think it's as good as the others, but what it does introduce is competition, So the others have got to keep on the toes. So that's one good thing about Billa. And they sell marmalade, French marmalade, which is the only thing I go in and buy. Because I went there and did a frugal sweep, to see what they've got to offer, If you get things on offer there, it can be, but you'd have to go just for that specific thing, which, But I actually do go for the marmalade, because I can't really get it anywhere else. They used to have it in another supermarket, Sicilian marmalade, and they have it in Lidl now and again, if they have a British week or something like that. But you've got to be quick. But this stuff's, and it's pretty good as well. It is good stuff, I do miss the Frank Cooper's marmalade from the UK, but that's a small price to pay for living here. But this French marmalade's good. Billa, check it out. So just the little wins, and they're doing other things as well in Sofia. They're making more underground stations or metro stations. A lot of it's above ground, the new stuff. But all things like that, when you hear the good news, and more good news is we had elections and they can't form a government again. So it might be bad news for some people, but it's not for me. Being kind of I'm all for small government, or administration, shall we say, not government. They shouldn't be governing, but the local mayors and obstinate, which is the councils, they've got more clout in places like Bulgaria, more devolution, and I think they've kind of taken the reins, because we haven't got a government. We haven't had one for 4 or 5 years. But if you go in, I've just been doing some dealings with. I sold some land, which is another big win for me, massive win. That's another one of and that's just happened now, and spoilt all my plans for detox and everything in June, which is now going to be July, and so that's what I'm going to do in July. So that's my new half of the year starting in a couple of days, and I'll do all the fasting and detoxing, but I'm going to keep a proper record of it on a calendar. So I'll do it, and I'll actually report on it as I'm doing it. I'm going to do a few things regarding maybe some detoxing, maybe some. I'm going to definitely do some fasting. I do intermittent fasting daily, mostly. I've been doing it quite a lot now in the heat, because I tend to eat less in the heat, drink more. So that's going to be the first half of the first month of the second half of the year. So that's hopefully going to be some more wins, and I'm going to do some longer fasting, alternate day fasting, which is you go the whole day. So it's not the whole day really. It's 2 nights and a day. If you add it all up, and it's a lot more than 24 hours. It works out about 36, or as many as you want. I think I'm going to make it 36. So you get say you do 8 in the evening till 8 the following evening. That's 24 hours, and then add another 12 for the night, and break the fast 8 o'clock the following day. That's 36 hours. So it's a lot longer than just like intermittent fasting, which is normally around 18 hours or 20 on a daily basis. I don't do it every day, because I don't stick to regimes. I just I stick to the general paths, which is less harsh on the on the mentality, on the body. And sometimes I'll have breakfast, So anyway, that's going to be July. So I'm looking forward to that. But the good thing that came out of June was, my regime went to pieces, because I did a road trip. I went to Albania for 6 days. And then obviously after 6 days driving, because we did every day driving, we didn't have any rest days. And I do all the driving. So and then I needed a couple of days then to retune back in, and by that time I'd lost the first week and a half of June, so, and then this land came up. I got an offer in for this land, and all that took off, and I had to go and do a load of paperwork and stuff. And just going back to the local council offices, they kind of buzzing, they're bouncing, and there's a real hum, and there used to be silence in there, all the doors closed. Now there's action everywhere, and there's all little there's all little models of projects, and apparently they've done one. I haven't seen it yet, because it's up out of the way at the top of the town, which is a big refurbishment of the stadium, the sports stadium. So I'm going to go and have a look at that. Actually, I might take in fact, it'll take the camera, and they're doing another something or other. I saw the JCB out the other day on in the town centre. That's another thing that's happened this year in town. We've had the farmers market, the weekly farmers market type of thing. That's all been refurbished, all brand new now. So every time you go into town, there's something else, you know, and it's all good news. Just little wins. That's all you need, little wins. And you see it on this. I don't watch mainstream news, but there's a good website here, and it's a private entity. But they give you both sides to the coin. No vanity, and I've highlighted a couple of things on that, and they give the good news as well as the bad news in equal portions, really. And the sports people have been doing quite well as well, and the things like chess, like some obscure stuff, you know, and the tennis stars. There's a man and a woman, the number ones in Bulgaria. They're doing quite well. They're not world beaters, but they're doing very well, you know. And they do quite well in the winter sports, which, you know, people don't really follow in the UK and that. And we've got a good cycling team here as well, the Trojan cycling team, and they're going from strength to strength. And they started a girls team, and they followed in the footsteps of the boys, who've done very, very well nationally. And it'll only be a matter of time before they find it as, you know, a superstar. And they're good at. They got one lad as well who's good at motocross, and I've been to a few motocross meetings because I was driving it was my road trip manager, so he kind of persuaded me to go. It's not my cup of tea really, and I do get kind of bored with it after a while when I'm there. It's not my cup of tea, you know. But they have got one lad here, and he's a superstar, fantastic. And I do enjoy watching him in his races, you know, because he stands out from the whole day. And he's from Trojan, so he got all these little wins going on, and then you know, even the little improvements in the garden, they might not seem like anything to anyone, but they are. They're all moving in the right direction. And we've had a good amount of water this year, and the spring is still going very strong, you know, and it's very green. So that's another good thing, you know. We've had it was dry for a while I think it was March into April, and then we had quite consistent rain, and a good type of rain. You don't want cloud bursts, you know, and sudden. Got a fly here who seems to be trying to work the camera. Anyway, so that's the first half of life in Bulgaria, the first half of the year, and loads of good little wins. And they've just announced another one, which, take it as you will, that they're not going to go into the Euro until at least 2026. And they said the Euro, what is it, the Bulgaria's Eurozone dream shattered. Now, how can that be shattered when more than half of the people don't want to go in it? How can the dreams be shattered? You know, like a load of crap. And I think they haven't done it because the EU are pushing for this CBDC, digital money, right? And they want to make the euro purely digital, I think, or mostly digital. And I think, like in my conspiracy kind of mind, is that like Bulgaria is nowhere near ready for digital money, and they wouldn't have it anyway. At the moment, they'd have to work on them a lot more because everything's more or less cash here. Even you can use your card now in most supermarkets and shops, but most people use cash, everywhere. And so it's a big cash play. So I suspect that that's one big reason that they, they'd rebel against this CBDC money. And most people wouldn't be able to do it. A lot of people just have dumb phones here. They don't have smartphones. A lot of the older people, they just have a phone, the old Nokias and that, and that's a phone. It's not nothing else. But so we'll see about that. But that's great news for me because I like the local currency. I like the lev, and I like cash, and I like. And people say, the lev is pegged to the euro, so they say it's the same thing. Well, it's not. How can it be the same thing? It's a different currency. It might be pegged to the euro, but they have got other controls. They've actually got the supply of the lev. It can be controlled. So it's not the same at all. If you know about fiat money and how it works, just because it's pegged on an international exchange basis, it's not the same at all. Because things, they've got an internal system here, and a lot of it's cash. So people don't know about a lot of the facts and figures, So that's. I hope you enjoyed the ramble. That's the halfway through the year ramble, and there's lots of other things that I probably haven't thought about, or can think of at the moment. But the main thing is, the prices of things, right? Just mention that, which I was going to mention. A lot of prices have kind of either stayed the same or come down. I mean, the firewood, that was a major win for me this year. It came down dramatically from the previous years, and things like the eggs coming down, it might not mean anything to some people, but it does. It all counts. Everything counts to get you through the day, And I also noticed, I think it was yesterday, on I think it was the Lidl brochure. You can get it online, and they've got this yogurt, which is a staple of Bulgaria. And they love the yogurt, and it's a standard type carton. It's quite a big carton. It's like the Greek yogurt. It's plain yogurt. They don't flavour it. And I use it in a lot of stuff like bolognese and curries and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's beautiful. And soup, you can put it in soups, and that was one lev. Forever, for eternity, until the last few years, and it went up dramatically. They hiked everything up just to follow suit with the rest of the world and Europe, and it went right up to like 1.4, 1.5, and I don't know what the height of it was, but it's gone back down to one lev. Incredible. And I've noticed actually lately the beer's going. There's a beer war, price war on, and they're pushing each other down because there's that many types of beer. I noticed Lidl, who aren't that good for drinks and that. I don't think, not compared with the rest of the shops here, because every shop in Bulgaria sells beer and alcohol. Every mini market and seemingly everywhere. sells it. And so there's a lot of competition. And I noticed they've put an offer on the Tuborg, which is brewed under license here. And that's gone right down. And they have one called Perlenbacher, which is German. They have that in the UK, actually. And that was probably the cheapest beer in the UK when I left. It was Perlenbacher, and it's good as well. It's like Bitburger. But I don't drink much beer. I do mention beer now because in the heat wave, I'll have a cold beer now and again, but I can't drink a lot of it. And it's quite fizzy. It's quite gassy. Sometimes I'll leave the top off for most of the day and then put it back in the fridge, get some of the gas out of it, But I can't drink a lot of the stuff, But it's quite refreshing on a very, very hot day, So the prices of stuff's coming down, and I've just got a gas bottle. And the last one I got, I can remember it because I thought, well, that's going up. It was 36 lev, which is €18. €18, which is still cheap, a lot cheaper than most of Europe. I think the LPG in the petrol stations is the cheapest in Europe now. It's just over a lev. It's ridiculous, And so this latest gas bottle was 29 lev. The one I've just got filled up. It's the 13 kg size ones, and I cook on gas. So that was another win, and the gasoline or petrol, that's gone down. It hasn't gone down to 2020 levels, but it's not far off. It was 240 then, which is one lev. What is it? 1.2 euros, and it's now about 1.315. It's 265 now lev. So it's 1.3 something euro per litre, which isn't that cheap for Bulgarian wages standards, but they all find the money from somewhere to go dash around in cars, so the money's coming from somewhere. So so a lot of prices have gone down, and they announced they have these communal heating things in the big cities. They're like big things, the hot water systems, and it's all centralised, and they heat all the big apartment blocks with it, and it's a big operation, and they look quite ugly, these places, but they're quite efficient, and they're well built as well, underneath all the the grimness. They are refurbishing the outsides of them now, but it's quite difficult because most of them are owned outright, so they've got to get all the people together. It's not like a leasehold or something like that. It's all individual people. I think they do have some commercial things, communal things like the lifts and stuff. Obviously, they're going to be communal, but the actual pod itself, the outside of the pod, is not communal as such. So it can be a bit difficult to get them all together, and probably to refurbish the outside of the blocks. But they have been doing quite a few in my town here, and they look all right when they're done. Because they're not like super high rise. They're only about 6-8 stories, most of them. I think most of them are 6. But they look all right when they're done. They've done quite a few here. So that's another thing. And the heating, they announced it was going down by about 8%. And that's quite a lot of money, And the electricity stabilised as well. And they were actually subsidising pensioners and stuff like that. And also a big win this year is there's a big harvest on the trees, You know, I've got a pear tree outside and it's heaving, and there's big apples. We had none last year, really. Some people did, but most had a very sparse harvest of fruit trees. But this year they're heaving with stuff, you know. And we've just had a massive cherry. Well, it's still going now. A cherry a harvest, and they're fantastic this year, cherries. So it's all good news. Okay, that's the positive side of Bulgaria. Cheers.